Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out ProbateMastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit ProbateMastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content. All right. I want to welcome everybody in to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast and coaching call. If you're new here, we do this every single Tuesday. If you're experienced, you're probably sick of hearing me say that we do this every single Tuesday. So for those of you that are new, legitimately though, we're here to answer your questions, hear your experiences, talk about everything from the most basic to the most advanced probate and estate techniques to generate business for yourself or solve client problems. For a lot of the folks here, they've been in this niche here I see people who've been in this niche for a couple of years at this point. And that's a testament to the power of what you can do when you build a niche into your probate practice or your real estate practice around the estate and the probate space. So I want to be really careful. I know that so many of you guys came in when our program was starting up, and Chad was running the group, and it's the name of the course is Probate Mastery, and that's always going to be the case. But I want to be really careful when I describe the type of business that you're building, especially if you're a real estate pro. And the way that I describe it is you are building an estate and probate business. So how many of you have heard over the years, let's say you're calling a prospect that's going through probate and you say, hey, what are you going to do with the house that's in probate? And the person says, I don't have a house in probate. And you hang the phone up, and then later in the MLS, you see that they sold the property that the decedent lived in. And you were like, that person's a liar. Well, they weren't lying. What most likely had happened is the house had been moved over into a trust, or potentially the house didn't have to go through probate because it was a ladybird or transfer on death deed, or it had a surviving spouse in it, and not all assets that are connected to an estate are going through probate. So I like to talk about building an estate and probate-based business. That way it covers services that people need when their assets are protected by trust or a part of an estate or immediately transferring to the beneficiaries and heirs, even if it's not going through probate. Now, we're probate-based because most of the time, probate are where the majority of us are getting our leads from. When somebody goes and applies for probate at the county level, that record becomes a matter of public record. So it's easily identifiable for people that want to build a service around the probate and the estate niche. It's the easiest way to identify those that you want to offer your services to. But don't make any mistake. Your services also apply to people that have inheritance that isn't passing through the probate process. Your services also apply to folks that are setting up trusts, setting up an estate plan while they're living before administration of an estate or probate process is ever needed. So what you're building, I want you to be careful not to only and exclusively refer to it as a probate business, a probate-based business. It's really an estate-based business, both on the creation side of the estate or trust or plan. So the planning side, that's while the typically aging person is still alive. And I say typically aging person is still alive. It doesn't need to be an aging person. Or the administration side of the estate. And the administration is after someone's passed away and it's time to distribute and dissolve the estate, which can be done in probate and can be done outside of probate if proper planning was done while they were alive. Okay, so I want to be very clear in that. It's one of the things that I see people mistake make the mistake of very, very often when they're marketing and prospecting, and you are eliminating a lot of people that could receive tremendous value from your business model, tremendous value, but they don't know because you might be stuck on the word probate and they have assets that they need help with that aren't in probate. So please recognize that yes, you're a certified probate expert, but when you communicate with your prospects and your clients, you help with the probate and estate settlement process. Okay. So I want to be really clear on that. I've also been doing some role play and different coaching calls with folks this week, and I'm recognizing a trend this week. I don't frequently bring up role play scenarios when I coach people, but when I do, I always can kind of see different trends that people are falling into and mistakes that they're making. And so I want everyone here to know that I'm not going to trash other real estate coaches. I'm not going to trash other sales coaches, but what I am going to say is that there are some old school coaches, no names named, old school coaches who teach very traditional, pushy sales techniques and prospecting techniques that in today's environment don't work on the average person. And I'm going to give you all an example. I'm going to repeat that and I'm going to give an example of something that doesn't work on the average person. So I'm going to repeat that and then the example. And I want someone to tell me what the example is, what the sales technique I'm about to use is that doesn't work on the average person. Wouldn't you agree that old school sales techniques don't work on the average person? Somebody tell me what my old school sales technique was that might raise a red flag with you. Who wants to take a stab at it? Wouldn't you agree that old school sales techniques don't work on the average person? Anybody hear it?
Framing it to where it's has to be a yes answer.
It has to be a yes answer. Absolutely. I've heard this at least 10 times in the last day and a half. Um, People that I'm role playing with and coaching with are trying to set it up where the prospect can't disagree. And I will tell you, if you ever use that on me, my response is normally, the way you ask that question, I have to agree, but I'm not going to. And I've said that to salespeople. The way that you phrase that, I have to agree, but I'm not going to because I don't want to. I don't want to give you the satisfaction of trapping me with such a transparent and obvious trap. And I'm watching a lot of real estate coaches that are out there and wholesale coaches that are out there and trainers for real estate agents and investors and all these different people. And very often they're giving you these scripts that might have worked in the 90s, but our clients and perception of how they view agents and salespeople has evolved to the point where we need to be a little bit more diplomatic about it. It doesn't mean that we can't set up sales traps, and I want to be careful with the expression sales traps because I don't want you to think that you're trapping someone into doing something bad for them. But at the same time, we want to set up sales traps. We want to influence conversations in a way where we get the result that we need for our business and two is best for the prospect. Really important that it match both of those. We need it for our business. It's also best for the prospect. But I'll tell you, when you're too transparent with where you're trying to take someone, they will absolutely resist you, even if it's in their best interest. Just like the example that I gave you a little bit ago. You set it up where they can't say no. And it's obvious to them that they can't say no, but they're like, I can't say no, but I don't want to say yes. That's like the worst thing that we could make someone, way that we could make someone feel when we're influencing the direction of a conversation, whether it be prospecting or an appointment conversation. So I want you guys to kind of get this into your head and look at some of the tie downs and some of the sales techniques that maybe you've been taught and some of the scripts you're using and say, if somebody delivered this script to me and it was presented in a way that I couldn't say no to the question, would I do everything in my power to at least not say yes? Right? I can't say no, but I don't want to say yes. And ask yourself, how can I rephrase some of this? How can I work? How can I rework my approach, my conversation approach in a way where I baby step someone into the outcome that A is best for them. A, it has to be best for them, but B is also good for my business. So, what I know, and for anyone that doesn't already know this, I'm totally a broken record, and I gotta stop saying I'm a broken record because some guys are so used to hearing this. Here's some data that I know about the probate and estate process. Okay, 100 people apply for probate in a county in a given month. 70 of them are going to have real estate. So 70 out of 100 will have real estate. Half of the 70 are going to need to sell that real estate. So it seems like it would be a rather simple conversation. We call, hey, I noticed you're going through probate. Do you need to sell the house? Or let me use an old school sales technique. I noticed you're going through probate. You're going to need to sell the house, aren't you? What are they going to do? I have to, I can't say no, but I don't want to say yes. So they're going to do everything in their power to back you off. We don't know yet. It's too early. What are you doing ambulance chasing me? Or you're just a vulture. They're going to do everything in their power to not say yes. They can't say no, but they don't want to say yes. So they're going to start throwing up these fake walls in the middle of your relationship. I don't want those fake walls. I want to avoid the fake walls. So the approach that I'm generally going to take is to baby step them into the process of a yes. We have to give them questions that we already know the answer to. That's like a partial way to the real estate. So examples are, hey, do you guys have everything kind of covered for yourself at the moment? Yeah, we have everything covered right now. Everything's in order right now. They've just applied for probate. Of course, the answer is going to be everything's in order. Let me send you some resources. If anything ever comes up for you in the future, I want you to give me a call. Is that fair? So there's a sales tie down. Is that fair? It's better than wouldn't you agree? Okay, is that fair? Yeah, that's fair. Send me some resources. Let me ask you a question. Have you guys talked about the real estate, or is it something that you're going to put off for a few months? We're going to put that discussion off for a few months. Guess what I know now? Now I know that there's a house involved and that there will be a talk about whether to sell it. So this is my way of inching my way into deeper and deeper levels of discussion around real estate with the typical prospect that I'm making a phone call to. And I just want to kind of put this in your heads. And I know for those of you that want to ask questions, I want you to go ahead and pop your hand up. It can be prospecting related, marketing, probate process, deal you're trying to put together. It doesn't matter. This is to kind of get us started. Hearing way too often, we are losing unbelievably valuable opportunities because the person in their head says, I can't say no, but I don't want to say yes. We're being too transparent with the approach. And there's some of us on this call that hate the traditional pushy sales approach so much that we're just not making a call or a marketing attempt at all. We're like, hey, I hate doing what you're describing for so much that I don't want to be perceived that way. I'm not even going to do it at all. And I'm just here to tell you there is a better way. There is a way to make the prospecting call while not being pushy and transparent with the trap that you're setting up. Okay. And the answer is to baby step people in, but it does take a little bit of planning. Um, Starting in March, of course, most of you all know that we're in the middle of a redo of Probate Mastery. So it's Probate Mastery 2.0. Today at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So in 2 hours, we're doing a class on planning your activities. So mostly phone activities. We're going to talk about planning your phone activities in a way that lead to the goals that you have. Then we're going to cover key performance indicators in a couple of days, and we've talked about team building and marketing and a bunch of good stuff. In March, we're going to devote almost the entire month to strictly prospecting techniques. You are on the phone with someone who most likely didn't know you a minute ago, and how are you going to convince them that you have credibility, you have their best interest at heart, and not only convince them of those things, but make them want to provide information to you. So we're going to spend 4 or 5 sessions in March at least on that. And that'll be available for anyone who has Probate Mastery. All right, let me shut up, stop talking for a minute. Hopefully there's some questions or some folks that want to share some experiences or challenges in your business or have questions about anything that you're doing with your estate and probate leads. And if not, you're going to hear me ramble a little bit more on prospecting techniques. All right, what do we have? Christy, do you have a question?
I do. So,
Okay.
Bruce, I'm newer in this. I've actually spoken or did a Zoom with you.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was thinking about is if, like, I'll tell people I work with real lawyers and closely with the courts or attorneys. And if somebody says to me, well, what do you do with the attorney? How do you work side by side with the attorney? I really don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, let me make a small adjustment to what you're saying in the beginning. So you go ahead and tell me, repeat basically what you said in the beginning, working with attorneys and courts. What was that again?
Right. So I work closely with the courts, not for the courts, and I also work with attorneys. If you have one, that's great. I can work with them. If you don't, I can refer you to 3 different attorneys that I work with,
Okay,
kind of
great.
thing.
Cool. So I want probably not a huge adjustment for you, but for many people, one of our biggest fears, before I answer Christy's question, one of our biggest fears is the how'd you get my number interruption. How'd you get my number is a total interruption. It's not necessarily an objection, but it's definitely a throw you off your game interruption that I think the majority of us have a fear of hearing when we make a cold call. So the way Christy went into that is a great way to avoid that question altogether. Hey, I'm giving you a call because I work really closely with the Wake County. I'm in Wake County, the Wake County court system. I do not work for the court system, but I essentially reach out to everyone who's applied for probate. So that pretty much got the how do I get your number out of the way before they vocalized the objection. And that's what Christy just did. Um, so she then brought up the question that they might ask, how do you work with attorneys? Great answer is so essentially attorneys take care of typically the legal and paperwork side of your probate process. If you have an attorney, that's probably what they're doing. That leaves a lot of things around the asset maintenance, security, and distribution to you. And what that kind of means is like if there's a house, you've got to make sure that it's secure. Nobody can break in. You don't have squatters. The mortgage is maintained. An attorney's not going to pay your mortgage, so you've got to do that. You've got to potentially sell the property if it needs to be sold. I don't know if it needs to be sold, but potentially sell it. If there's cars, you're dealing with the assets themselves while the attorney's doing the legal side. So what I do is I step in and I help organize and take care of those assets that the attorney's not directly involved with the management of. So if an example is if you have a house that needs a pressure washer, grass cut, or the gutters need cleaned, I can organize and coordinate those services. If you need to sell a house, being a real estate agent, I can help with that. If you have a car and you've got to get rid of it, I've got car buyers. So I just want you to use me for anything like that that maybe you're not sure how to do or just don't have time to handle it. Now, I want everyone to hear what I would do with that explanation is I would go record that. for myself, and I would play it back. So I would go on to something like Audacity. Most of us have Audacity built into our Mac computers. So I would go on Audacity, or I would go to a recording system like Descript, or I'd just do it on Zoom, and I'd record my answer, and I'd look at how long it took, and I'd listen to where I might have stumbled or where I wasn't clear, and I'd think critically about it, and I'd say, how can I clean that up and make it a little bit more clear and understandable and concise? I can tell you guys, just because I think critically about myself and my own approach, I can tell you guys that my explanation to Christy seemed really long to me. But it's my first time through it. I've got a recording. I go back, I listen to it, and I say, okay, how can I shorten this up and explain it in a more succinct fashion? And if you can look at your own business and the way that you explain things like that critically and record yourself, you'll be able to explain things almost flawlessly in no time. But you got to record yourself. You got to be able to listen to your voice. You've got to be able to ask yourself, where do I want to clean this up? Where do I want to shorten it? Where do I need to add some clarity? Now, Christy, how is that explanation? Did that help? You think that's semi-understandable?
Yes, tremendously. Thank you.
Okay.
That did. Yeah. I just wasn't sure of the difference. So perfect. Thank you.
Now, if someone has asked me, I'm probably going to take some time to explain it the way that I did to Christy. If it wasn't a question that they asked, I'm going to not go into the examples in quite as much detail because they didn't ask. But if they say, how do you work with attorneys? I'll probably take a little bit of time because they've essentially given me permission to talk. And I don't have a problem talking if I have permission. Okay. If they didn't ask, I might I might want to still offer a little bit of explanation, but it's going to be really short. So I'll say I work really closely with the courthouse and several attorneys in the area. Essentially, what I do is I take care of the non-legal elements of probate for people. Things like securing assets, if you need buyers for things, estate sales, maintenance of property, anything like that. I step in and help, like almost like a concierge. Now, the most important part of any presentation of value like that is the question that you ask at the end. After my explanation of value that I just gave you guys, there are probably a dozen different objections or responses that someone could come at me with. And if I wait on them to come up with the next response or the next question or the next objection, I'm constantly going to be volleying back and responding and communicating on their terms. So I can't do that when I'm prospecting. I need them to be responding and communicating on my terms. So I've presented some value. The most important thing now is to ask a question that directs the conversation, that now has them communicating with me on the terms that I'm planned for. So for me, my question is at this point is always going to be as to whether they have anything that they could use help with or if they have it all handled. That's always going to be my question at this point. I've got some other questions that you could ask. You present some value the way that Christy and I just talked about. Another question could be, hey, did you guys just get started with the probate process, or have you been in the middle of it for a little while? Someone tell me why that's a powerful question. Now, that's not my question, but it's really powerful. It's going to be the right question for some of you. Some of you tell me why that's such a powerful question. Did you guys just get started with the probate process, or have you been in the middle of it for a little while? Why is that such a good question that controls the conversation? Anybody have a stab at it?
I think you pretend that you don't know, but you know the answer. I guess.
Yeah. So Lynette said in chat, it allows them to answer the question. So yes, absolutely. That's the first thing I want is I want them talking to me, not me just talking the whole time. But to Anda's point, I already know the answer. So when I already know the answer to something, I usually present two different options because it makes them feel like they have options. I'm influencing the direction of the call. I've presented a question in a way that the prospect feels as though there's tons of different options. I know that there's only one that they're going to choose because guess what I can see? I can see the file date. Okay. So if I want to give the illusion of choice where I already know what they're going to respond with, I'll ask a question where I've given two choices, but I flat out know how they have to respond. It's one reason why my first question when I've explained my services briefly is, do you have everything handled or is there anything I could take off your plate? That's my first question out of my presentation of services. I already know that they're going to say they have everything handled. So I'm giving them this feeling of choice, and then it gives me the chance to give them acceptance when they do what they think is resist me. They believe I have it handled is providing some resistance to a stranger on the phone. The reality is I already knew the answer to that question before I asked it. So bottom line, when you guys prospect, is be able to summarize your service rather quickly. Now, if they've asked you about your service, talk for a little bit. If they haven't asked, summarize it in a couple of sentences and then have a pre-planned question that you ask, giving choices. And bonus points if you already know the answer they're going to give before they give it. So if I'm looking at a probate list and I call someone and I present my value and I know that they have an attorney because the attorney filed for probate for them, I'm going to say, hey, are you guys going through probate alone without an attorney or have you hired an attorney? Well, I already know, but it gives them this really powerful feeling of having choice in the conversation. And it gives me the chance to take it in a direction that I'm already prepared for and know what their answers are going to be. Okay, so look at your leads and essentially ask yourselves as you move into probate, especially prospecting, ask yourselves, what are some things that I can know about someone? And how might I ask a question where I'm giving the illusion of choice, but I already know what answer they're going to give? And then the next step is, how would I respond if they're going to give me that answer? There's no worse time to prepare your response for any given answer than right after they give you that answer. The best time to prepare your response is ahead of time. Like I already know how I'm going to respond to our attorneys doing things for us. I already know how I'm going to respond to, we've got everything covered so far. I already know how to respond to, hey, we just started. I know how to respond to, yeah, we've been in the middle of probate for 5 or 6 months. I know how to respond to all of those things because I know what they're going through at that stage. And I've pre-planned for that answer to come from them. So back to where we were with Christy, you present value. You have to ask a question at the end that you already know the answer to. You have to. Okay. Otherwise, you're just leaving it up to them on where they want to take the call. And that's no good. That's no good at all. All right. Any other questions? What else do we have? Who's new? How many of you are just kind of dabbling with probate for the first time? I see a couple of hands. All right. How many of you, and I look around the room, how many of you are experienced, seasoned agents and investors that have been doing probate for a little while and you're getting some traction? Good. Love to see it, guys. Love to see it. All right. I want to hear from those of you that maybe have gotten some traction. Who's had a recent deal you want to share with us? Any recent deal? So Sarah, Oksana, I'll come to you in a second, and then whoever just came off mute. But first, I want to go to Sarah. Sarah said, "This reminds me of this reminds me of when I helped my kids learn how to dress themselves. It motivated them and empowered them to be more capable. It's a good feeling. Absolutely, we need to motivate and empower our prospect with choice." Now, it just so happens when I have people that are answering my questions, it's all an illusion because I already knew the choice that they were going to make ahead of time. All right. And that's where you truly get mastery over your conversations. So, Oksana first, go for it.
Hey, you're the best, by the way. I'm so grateful to you.
Thanks.
I heard I had a learning curve that I just wanted to share with you guys. Haven't been doing probate for a long time, probably for about a year now. But I called an executive of an estate, and when I spoke with him, it went nowhere. Guy had a lot that he was an executor off. So I said, look, he goes, I'm probably going to keep it. So I said, okay. Well, I looked into it anyways. And I called him and I said, we spoke, not sure if you remember me, but just in case if one day you do decide to sell it, I think it would be great if you keep it and, keep it in the family. So we started to talking and he said, you know what? You're the only one who actually took the time to do this research. Because I called I digged up the records. It was a locked lot, literally worth nothing, but good investment to keep.
Mm-hmm.
We stayed in touch. It was like literally as I mark him no-go lead, nothing to sell, right?
Yep.
Well, comes to find out, we had a conversation about 4 months ago. He said, look, I appreciate you staying in touch and just checking in with me. He's like, but I never told you, he said, I inherited a house from my grandpa as well, not just the lot. It was not on my probate list. So it was given to him by will.
Mm-hmm.
The executor was somebody else, and it was in the county I don't have probate in. That's why I didn't get it.
Yep.
I just listed his house.
Nice.
So my
Awesome.
no-go, I've learned I need to make it as really kind of a discovery and stay touch because might be opportunity somewhere. But I just wanted to share with you because that's at least what I expected.
Yeah. So that's really powerful. A lot of times we're quick to eliminate leads. Now, my probate records that I get typically on a monthly basis generally exceed, and sometimes by a lot, 200 new records a month. And because of that, and because of my limited time and things like that, I'm really fast to filter my list down and kind of target the people that I feel out of that 200 plus are the most likely. So I'll filter mine down to 70 or 80 that I think are the most likely and go for them first. But the reality is, if you've got the time, it's beneficial to have a relationship with any of these folks because let's say that they did inherit a property in another state or county and you don't see it. Or maybe they didn't inherit a property or they did and they're going to keep the property. Who says that they're not going to be coming into cash and be upgrading their home? All these things have happened. Who says that they don't have a timeshare that they need to give away? Okay, because that's basically what happens with timeshares. Who says they don't have a car? One of my best, most profitable deals was not real estate at all. It was a car. Okay, that was one of my most profitable deals, and I wasn't even looking for it. Now I look for it because it landed in my lap. Very often you'll do a single deal, small deal with someone, and then they bring you 5 of their other properties. So we just don't know. We have no idea what a relationship is going to bring when we take care of it. So, Oksana, thank you so much for
Bruce, may I
that
ask you a
story.
real quick question?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So that made me think I have a folder, right, that I keep with folks that I had great conversations, really good combos. but they just really are not selling an estate. So they are really keeping it in the family. But realistically, I know like I listed one now, they kept it in the family for 2 years, and I just listed another one where apparently the nephew cannot afford living there anymore. So I followed up and now we listed it. So the ones that had good convo, but they are keeping it at that moment or for a year, let's say, how would I put it? What would be your strategy, I guess, right? To kind of not sound like a salesy, hey, are you ready? Or anything's changed approach, then just, I can't stand that the old fashioned kind of checking in on you
Yeah.
way. What would
Yeah.
be your recommendation?
So if it's a call or marketing, what are we referring?
A phone call.
Phone
And
call.
really, if you would recommend to market them in any way, but not probate,
Yep.
or what, should it be a regular marketing material like anybody else, like any other
Yeah.
seller?
Regular marketing material. Let's talk about the phone call first. So phone call. Oksana, hey, Bruce Hill, how's it going?
Oh, hi, Oksana. How you been?
Well, I'm not Oksana, I'm Bruce, but hey, that's
I'm
good.
sorry, Bruce. How
Yeah.
you been?
So, hey, good. Oksana, listen, I never want to pretend like you remember me. You remember talking to me like 6 or 7 months ago?
Yes, you sent me a
Okay.
card.
Okay, perfect. Listen, I didn't need anything. I was thinking about you. I hope everything's good. I wanted to see if there was anything on earth that I might be able to do for you.
Nothing I can think of now,
No?
really.
Okay, totally fine. I know that's a really weird question. The main thing that I like to do is be kind of the go-to for people when they have really any need, even if it's not something that I help with. I know a lot of service providers and car mechanics and restaurant owners and anything. If you ever need anything at all, even if it's not something I do, you need a connection, call me. I probably have someone for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oksana, I hope things are good. And honestly, I'm abbreviating this. Some calls will go like this. Sometimes there's just a decent conversation.
How about
Um,
the one that's out of state?
so out of state.
Because this
Uh,
one that I listed, she was out of state. So it was like
yeah.
kind of
Hey, Oksana, hey, given I gave you a call. We talked 5 or 6 months ago. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. Oksana, I was calling about the house over there. Last time we talked, you guys were all situated. I think your brother was going to move in, or you were going to keep it as a rental. How's everything going with that?
well, he's still staying there, but I don't know. As of now,
Yeah. He's pretty content, or are things a little bumpy?
he's saying he's good. I mean,
Okay,
we seems
good.
to be okay.
Okay. Well, no pressure, no rush. I just like to check in because sometimes things change. If anything ever comes up, I think you have my information. If you don't, I'll send you a little packet with some resources in it. If anything ever changes, I want you to call me. Is that still okay?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And okay. So
Okay.
then while between the first convo and this one, I just keep on marketing the material.
Yeah, so I like to market with things that are slightly more valuable than a postcard. The first couple of times. So over time, I don't want to keep spending $20 on a package or something like that. But in the first few things that I send out, I like it to be a little bit valuable. So inside of that, it might be a CMA. It'll have a letter, it might have a checklist or a brochure, it might have an actual offer. I just try to ask myself what are some valuable things that I can add to this thing that I'm trying. I've got a short amount of time to be as memorable and credible as possible. What's my competition sending? And I can tell you guys, your competition is typically sending a postcard, one, or a letter, just one. They don't normally do multiple of those things. So I want with the first piece or two that I send to make a splash and to be extremely memorable. And then after that, everything that I send can just be that little brand booster like the occasional postcard, the occasional handwritten note, the occasional letter. Doesn't need to be overly aggressive from a scheduling standpoint because I already figured out there's probably not a great quick real estate deal here. But I do want to stay in touch with a little bit of that. And then bottom line is you have to have an email drip campaign. Have to. All this other stuff costs money. An email drip campaign is basically free with the exception of your platform. So Bill Gross, who was on here, I'm not sure if he still is. I don't see Bill right now. Anyone that's on his email list, you guys see great drip campaign ideas that he sends out. So I think that that's one of the things that we need to build into our business early. So at first, if you don't have anything, I would have that power package that's like a marketing package. And then I would write a couple of templated letters, just sort of brand booster reminder. Hey, it's been a while since we talked. I wanted to see if everything was okay. Just that letter to 1 or 2 postcards. Nothing overly complex because remember they said no sale. So they're a no-go. But we want to do that. We also want to have something minimal monthly that goes in their email box. Preferably that provides value and isn't begging for a sale every time. So preferably it needs to provide some sort of real estate or probate or estate value. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for the questions. Cam, what's happening?
Hey, what's up, Bruce? That was fire. I forgot her name. That was definitely fire. The dollars on the follow-up, right?
Mhm.
Actually, I have a closing date for something on the 21st that I've been working since July. Just running down this lead an attorney sent me, and they officially like signed the contract like a week ago, but it was a super difficult process. Just getting the aunt to get on the same page and stuff like that. But yeah, damn, I forgot where I was going with that. But back to what you were saying about the email drip campaign, that's actually something I was just starting to build myself. So, that's kind of reassuring. I've been taking all the cards from networking events and just putting them in the CRM and just trying to start building an audience. I just sent my first mailer, actually, the email mailer, like Friday, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's something I've been doing as well.
That's awesome. It probably doesn't feel this way, but you're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it was.
Sometimes just that first little tiny thing that we implement in our business, we're like, man, I feel like I'm so far behind. I've got these 15 things to implement in my business and I just finished one. I felt that way before. But I
Yeah,
want to tell you guys that implementing one system in your business is going to put you ahead of 99% of those that don't implement anything in their business at all. At all. So just one little thing. And if you can get to the point where you do one little thing like that. So I created 3 emails. Let's just say that 3 emails. And I do 3 emails every month, or I did a short email campaign this month. And next month I created a probate checklist. Those things stack together and eventually get to a point where your business is extremely impressive. It's uncatchable by your typical quote unquote competitor. And we all know in most of our markets, it doesn't really matter if we have competition or not. There's plenty of estate and probate business to go around. More than enough for a lot of people to make an incredible income. But my goal is always get so far ahead of everyone that nobody's gonna catch up. Cool. Anything else, Cam?
Oh, my bad. Oh, but that's where I was going with it. The follow-up, the dollars in the follow-up for what she was saying. Just you got to keep staying on top of people. But yeah, but at least that's reassuring, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
because I set up real late, just adding a bunch of business cards to the CRM, and I got like 400 people right now. So I'm gonna keep trying to build it. But yeah, I
Amazing.
see the vision. But thank you.
So I'm gonna say before I go to Noriel, I'm gonna say that someone who I've really enjoyed the way that he does business as an agent is Ricky Carruth. Some of you guys know Ricky, some of you guys don't. Ricky built his business as a solo agent before he built a team and a brokerage, and then basically left production. He built his business Circle Prospecting, which to a degree, we're circle prospecting to a degree. We're just adding the filter of probate to the mix. And he would call and, hey, just giving you a call. I noticed you lived over in such and such a neighborhood. We've just put three properties on the market over there. Just wanted to see if there was anything we could do for you. And most of the time, the overwhelming majority, for those of you that have watched Ricky or are gonna go watch Ricky on YouTube, is nope, I don't need anything. And he goes, hey, no problem. I just wanted to check in. I'm glad you got everything handled. And that sometimes people go, well, Ricky, I just bought my house last month. I'm not selling. And they'll get kind of upset. Hey, no worries. I just wasn't sure. I wanted to introduce myself. Hey, listen, if anything changed for you 5, 10 years down the road, is there an agent you'd use? Well, no, I can't really think of anything. He goes, I'd love to periodically keep you updated on what the market's doing. Is that okay? Sure. Let me get an email for you. And I've heard him make calls before where he said, hey, if you were to change your mind and maybe sell in 5 or 10 years, is there an agent you'd use? And I've heard numerous times that they've said, yeah, I'd use you. And he doesn't know the person from Adam. And he goes, oh, why me? And they go, well, we've been getting your emails because he talked to him 5 years ago. And he doesn't remember, but he talked to him 5 years ago, and they say, hey, I'd use you. And that's what the power of email marketing can do over time. Over time. How many of you, specifically those of you that are agents, how many of you have past clients that you are embarrassed that you've lost? Embarrassed that you've lost. And I would say it's probably a big portion of it. And my hand is up. I haven't lost all my clients, but there are a few that I'm like, man, it's almost embarrassing to call them now because I haven't called them for 4 years. Those people are absolutely primed to switch to a Ricky Carruth or switch to someone that just stayed consistently in front with value, even if it's just email. All right, Norio, what's up?
So over the last month, I would say within the last month or 30 days, got our first attorney referral.
Yeah.
That was a big win. And actually, I thought I had lost this attorney because I was asking him for questions and he wasn't responding for the last on a particular case. So I called his office a little bit after the holidays and sent him a gift too. Never heard anything about it. I'm like, okay, he must be upset at me because I asked for too much help. We stopped by his office, had a little chat, and then he was like, "Here, see if you can take care of this one." I was like, "Okay." So
That was at the office pop by?
I was at the office stop by.
Wow.
So
What
now
did
it's on the market. We have a few offers. It's a major fixer, so it's going to be a developer or a flipper.
Yep.
So hopefully by tomorrow we'll have it in escrow.
That's amazing. Let me ask you a question. Would he have called you with it if you hadn't stopped by?
Oh no, I probably not. Probably not. The thing is, I had talked to the PR way before, when he initially hit the file hit. I talked to the PR, had a good conversation, and his comment was, "I'm gonna do whatever the attorney says."
Mhm.
Okay, so I kind of already was having dialogue with his attorney, so I did kind of throw it out there. Hey, I see you're talking to. He's ready to got his letters. Let us know if you need anything. So I just threw it out there. Not that I ever knew the business was going to come this way. So at the stop by, it was a nice return on
Awesome.
investment.
Yep. There's golden attorney relationships, guys, and I'll tell you, Noriel, this is first referral from the attorney. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. you kind of got them thinking, thinking along the lines of referring. So I would anticipate that this is going to be the first of many to come. I was telling coaching group, Tana, listen to this. I remember sometimes those attorneys hang out in the 80% that are not referring us for 6 months, a year, 2 years. And then all of a sudden something happens and they tip into the 20%. And once they tip into the 20% that do refer, um, you, many of them stay there because a lot of times they just don't know how to refer. They don't know how to think about you. They're busy in their own life and their own practice, and they're not thinking about you until they are. So, Noriel, I think that you just moved an attorney out of the 80% that aren't going to send you any business into the 20% that will most likely do it more.
Yeah, I hope so. So
Good book, guys.
we'll do a great job and then move on to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good book. I highly recommend it. It's been years since I've read it. I think I've read this 3 times, and I pulled it off of the shelf earlier today on a coaching call, and I realized I probably need to go through it again because it's a very valuable book. The subtitle is The Definitive Guide to Working Less and Making More, and that really aligns with our approach with Probate Mastery is do good in your community, work less, earn more. Those 3 things. Work less, earn more. Most importantly, none of those things really happen if you're not doing good and providing a value to your community, though.
Last question. I guess move on, Bruce. What's your thought or experience with either buyers or investors going direct to the attorney, on a particular house? Do you see that often? And then it gets sold through the attorney, or
What do you mean going direct to the
so
attorney?
let's say, and I don't
I
know if
can
this is
chime
what's
in
happening.
here. Yeah.
Let me hold on, David. I want Noriel to clarify so that we're answering
So
properly, and then
again,
you go.
this is the way I'm seeing it. Let's say there's a probate, and this house is a junker, complete junker. As an
Mhm.
investor, if you're in this niche, you understand it's a fixer and you understand it's a probate, and you know who the attorney is. Are they bypassing everyone else and going straight to the attorney and say, "Hey, we'll buy it at 500K as
Do
is"?
some of them do that? Yes. I don't think it works. And then David, I don't think it works unless you know the attorney already. But do some people absolutely try to do that? 100%. If you know the attorney, I think it works. If you don't know the attorney, click.
Hmm.
Okay. David, what do you have?
I just think half of these houses are being sold based on attorney referral. And they're very cautious about who they give that referral to. That's what I'm starting to feel. They don't know how, like you said, Bruce, they don't know how to refer you, but you got to move them out of that 80% to get 20% of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling that most of these houses, the floodgates are going to open if we just figure out this attorney referrals. And I'll be a good test source for it because I'm gonna spend probably 30 grand this year on association fees, data, events, and then letters to attorneys. So we're gonna really see if it comes into play.
And you just did an attorney sponsorship a couple of days ago, right?
Yep.
How'd
And it
that
was
go?
a completely wrong audience too.
Okay. Fall on
So
his
it's
face a little bit.
yeah, it's fine. It's a bunch of attorneys, but they were appellate attorneys, and I didn't realize that. I just thought it was a class because I went to a class before and it was a state class
Yeah.
for estate planning and guardianship. So that was the right group to be at. Then this group was for appellate judges and appellate attorneys that practice appeals.
Yeah.
So none of them, everything that I said to them went over their heads. So I spent 2 grand doing this, and it probably will not get any referrals. But now they're going to get my letters, so they may. It's just another networking source to be in front of.
Yeah.
But you got to be real careful too. The ones that don't practice estate law or probate, they're probably not going to have any. They may have some houses for you, but that's just the process we're going to go through.
So let me ask you a question, David. I already know the answer. Remember in the beginning of the call, I said, don't ask questions you don't know the answer to. You just spent $2,000 and you put yourself in front of a bunch of attorneys that weren't the right audience, weren't the right attorneys. Was it a little bit embarrassing?
No, not at all.
Really?
No.
Okay. All right. I didn't know the answer to that. I thought you'd say it was a little bit embarrassing. Okay. Second
Well, I
question.
was nervous. I was nervous because I have a feeling that the attorneys are above me because they're educated more than I am,
Oh, yeah.
and they come across. There's only one guy in the room that was like trying to make me feel like he was smarter than me when I was
Yeah.
talking to him. But
Yeah.
everybody else was very cordial and they were appreciative that I bought them lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there sponsoring their event and that I was present. I stayed there the whole 3.5 hours for their boring ass lecture of constitutional law back in 1803. But
That's awesome.
but yeah,
Okay.
it's
So,
just the process of I was in a room with 55 attorneys and they all got to see me talk for like 2 minutes. So
mhm.
it's just the process we're going to have to go through if we're going to build 5 year and I got 3 deals signed this week, so it's not like it's it's yeah. So
Okay. All
yeah.
right. So here was my follow-up question, and this is predicated on you being a little bit embarrassed. So if you weren't embarrassed, just pretend like you were embarrassed for a second. Man, I just spent
Okay.
$2,000 in front of the wrong audience.
50-50, Bruce, just to appease you. Yeah, a
Okay,
little
okay.
bit.
I spent $2,000 in front of the wrong audience. Um, are you going to go sponsor another event?
Yes, 100%.
There you go. I want everyone to hear that. All right, that's the difference between people who experience significant growth in their business and the people that wash out of a niche and never do anything with it again. Those that are going to see serious, massive success, and I think most of us would argue that David fits that mold, um, try things that could be embarrassing if they get it wrong. And we try enough things to where we get embarrassed quite frequently. I had a listing appointment today via Zoom, and I'm like the go-to expert. I was on this listing appointment with a probate mastery student who said, I want to hear how the master does it. And this woman, 5 minutes in, she goes, Bruce, I'm just going to stop you right now. She goes, I'm just a dollars and cents woman. I'm at work. I don't have time for this. Just tell me what your price is. And that doesn't fit my mold at all. It doesn't fit. I lost complete control. And I gave her, and she said, okay, you and me, we're done right now. Click. And I'm sitting there trying to make a good impression with a probate mastery student who thinks that I can't do any wrong.
Can I coach you on that, Bruce, a little
It's a
bit?
little bit embarrassing. It's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah.
Am I going to go do it again? You bet. Go for it, David. Coach me.
That's I ran into that situation this week too, and the lady just if she plans to sign the offer, it came through right now. But she just told me to give her a price, and then I gave her the lowest price possible, and she accepted it. So don't be afraid of if they want a number like that, just shoot a number out and be like, I told her, hey, just don't hate me because of this, because it is going to be lower than what you probably expect.
Yeah.
But here's a number that I feel that I could buy the house and remodel it and make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they accepted it. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Amazing. Amazing. All
yeah.
right. Well, thanks for
Oh,
jumping in.
on that aspect of just going back real quick, I'm sorry to take over your call, but
You're good.
so the lady that runs the event, she knew too that I was in the wrong audience. So she offered me for another $250 the whole database for the membership.
Mm.
So now I get 5,200 emails of all the attorneys that are members of this association. So that is she understood that I paid for an event that I wanted to be in front of state attorneys, and it was very obvious that it wasn't. So
Yeah.
she's like, here's what we could do to help you.
Yeah.
So they're there to help you. It's great.
Yeah. Now, I would also argue that your appellate judges and appellate attorneys probably do have situations where they're appealing certain rulings that have real estate ramifications. So I would
Yes.
argue that regardless of whether this was a room full of people that deal with estates and probate, regardless of the fact that it wasn't, there's probably a lot of real estate deals in that room.
And like you said, it takes that. It's probably gonna. I'm not a public speaker type person. My wife thinks I am, but for me, that 2 minutes it seemed like 15 minutes that I had to give a little speech. So for me to do that is a foot in the right direction for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's all building this probate business, which is amazing.
Yep.
And I've always shared over the last 5 years, I've shared with everybody what phases I've gone through and where I'm at now. So it's like, it's just this is the best niche to be involved with. I am so convinced.
Cool. All right. Thanks, David. Anda.
You're welcome.
We're a little bit over, so hang with us for a second. I'm gonna go to Anda and then Cam, and then we'll wrap up.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah.
I have a question. I'm going to my first meeting to network with attorneys in my county, and I was curious if you can give me an advice on how to introduce myself and if a business card is sufficient, or should I bring any other materials?
Who goes to attorney networking events that wants to answer that question? Raise your hand, please. Anda, we're going to answer your question after Cam's. I want hands up if you go to attorney networking events like David just went to. So, David, I want your hand up.
I missed
And
her
anybody
question.
else?
I'm sorry.
Okay, go for it. Go for it. And then Cam.
No, I missed her question. I didn't hear it because I was looking at something else.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, Anda's going to an attorney networking event and she wants to know what her spiel should be, essentially an elevator pitch, and whether she should take business cards.
I just learned the only thing I actually positive learned from my father, and I wasn't raised by him. He told me never hand a business card out to somebody that doesn't ask for it. I've always remembered that. He was a TV sales guy, and I don't ever even get out business cards. I'll go to events without cards. I'll go with 5 because I know I don't want to hand out cards to people that don't want them.
Yeah.
So that's the one advice there. But for the event, for me, for this 2-3 minutes time I had to introduce myself, I just said who I was. I said I was a broker up front. My intention was to buy and sell homes. That was that first 15 seconds. And then I went into a story about saving a lady's she had 3 other realtors that tried to sell a house, blah blah blah. It was a ghost mortgage. I solved it for him. I went far and above that any other realtor could do on this file. And everybody in the room was like, "Oh." So stories, share a story with somebody in that room that's impactful. And look for the smartest guy and then stay away from him.
Okay.
Thank you.
If anyone else has anything to add, please raise your hand on that specific question, real fast, and then Cam. I kind of agree. I don't take business cards that often. I want their phone number. And so I usually go, oh man, completely forgot my business cards. Let me find you on LinkedIn. Better yet, put your phone number in here. Maybe we could grab coffee. Okay. And then I'll normally find them on LinkedIn. But I want their phone number and I want to kind of tell them why. Maybe we'll grab coffee. And I would agree. I don't do that with people that didn't ask. And I didn't know that I took that approach, but I really don't. I don't do that with people that don't ask. Every time I go to an event, I'm looking for 1 or 2 people that I can really connect with. I might meet 20, but I want 1 or 2 of them that I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go deep with these 2 people. I can't do that with 20 people I've met. I can do that with 1 or 2. And I'm gonna try to arrange a meeting in the next week with these people, these 2. The pitch, if you're just meeting, is Basically, I'm a real estate that specializes or is trying to specialize in the estate and the probate process. That's basically it. Like I've got 1,000 things I do, but I don't want to bore you with the details. How about you? Okay, and then let them come back to you. They might, if they come back to you and they ask, now you've got someone you can go deep with. I'm kind of forcing them. I'm forcing a filter on my audience, on my list. And that filter is I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with someone that's not interested. So they need to ask me for clarification before I go deep. So my quote unquote pitch presentation is going to be a sentence or two. And if they want more, just like if they ask for your card, if they ask for more information, then give them more, talk more. Cool. All right, Cam, what's up?
I didn't know if you've seen my text on the screen. I'm going to be speaking tomorrow. I didn't know if I could plug that in.
If you could plug it in.
Yeah, like tell people I'm going to be speaking tomorrow, the event. If you're in Massachusetts, I know like a few people.
Oh yeah, please go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to be speaking tomorrow, going from like my journey from wholesaling into becoming an investor that's focused or specializes on in probate. And I kind of took a page from Dave's book, and I asked an attorney, was like, "Hey, do you want to come speak? You can speak on the preventative side. I'll speak on the reactive. It's going to be at Solo Bar and Grill in Brockton, Mass." If you do, want the exact address, you can reach out. But yeah, that's what I just wanted to shout out.
Awesome. Cool. And if anyone wants to find and message Cam on that, go to either Estate Professionals Mastermind Facebook page. Cam is active on that. So Facebook group, not page, Estate Professionals Mastermind. You can find him there and message. Or if you're Probate Mastery alumni, that's where I try to get questions and engagement is Probate Mastery alumni Facebook group. But I know not everybody here is taking Mastery. So Cam, watch your messages. He is active on both of those in both.
And I highly recommend you guys take this course. It definitely changed my whole aspect of this business. Like Dave said, this is the best niche to get into, and this is a great class. I just highly recommend if you guys haven't. Definitely helped me.
Yeah. Thanks for the plug. Appreciate it.
Cam needs a lot of help too.
100%. That's why the community's here.
Yeah, just kidding, buddy.
Cool. Okay, guys, we are over on time. Thanks for staying long. If you're a Probate Mastery student or alumni, we are doing a business planning class in a little less than an hour. So about 53 minutes, we'll be doing a business planning class. Go look at your email for the Zoom link to that class. Unfortunately, if you're not, Randy, go ahead and unmute yourself. If you're not in Probate Mastery, you won't see that. That's for Probate Mastery students. If anyone wants to rush and get Probate Mastery, you've got 53 minutes. You just go to probatemastery.com.
Your email says 3:30 Eastern time, which is 2:30 Central.
Does it say 3:30? All right. Yep. That means I got a lot of work to do in the next 23 minutes. It is 3:30.
Just wanted to make sure I wasn't.
Nope, it's 3:30. I messed my time up.
Okay.
So I got to run, guys. I got a class to get ready for. See you later.